If you know who I am, you know how weird this is that I'm up here. This is not me. That's me being on the cajon, doing the instrument that doesn't require a mic to talk into. This isn't not my walk in the park. But if you know who I am, like I said, you know that's not to be a reality. This is not me at all. So if you get anything out of it tonight, you know it is a move of God, because just public speaking, not it for me. But if you do not know who I am, my name is Adam. If you come here on Wednesday nights, you've probably seen somebody in the corner back there, maybe doing it right, maybe doing it wrong, probably just the loudest thing on the stage. That's me. I play the drums. I've been going here to Underwood for about 10 years. I started going here about the end of my senior year of high school. If you do the math, that puts me at 28 years old. So I'm well above the average college age. The reason I hang out here still is because I've had the opportunity to be a part of the life support team. The guys that hang out in the back of the room during the invitation kind of help out with some stuff with Trey. But Trey gave me the opportunity to do this. I don't know if that was smart. We'll find out in a minute, I guess. But he's on vacation. He's having a good time while I'm up here freaking out. So that's awesome for him. But got some cool stuff I think we're going to talk about tonight. I thought about just telling my testimony and then running off the stage as fast as I could. But I think we might actually talk about something pretty meaningful. Not that that wouldn't be. But if you will, we're going to go ahead and go to Daniel chapter 6. And I'm going to give you a little bit of time to get there. And I'd like to think if I do anything better than Trey Mitchell, this will be the one and the only thing, but give you time to get into the Word. Because that dude, I'm telling you, he's like, Daniel chapter 6, here we go, boom, 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 boom. And he's already halfway through the passages, and I think we've all given up looking for it, and we just look at the screen. But I know that I have not cracked a Bible since who knows when on a Wednesday night. So I'll give you some time to get there. But I'll also shout out Brother Rodney from Sunday morning. If you have your Bibles that you do, turn with me to Daniel chapter 6. But hopefully you've had some time to get there. We're going to straight up read the whole thing. And it's a lot to read for a little point to make out of it, but just bear with me. So here we go. Daniel chapter 6, beginning in verse 1. It says that Darius the Mede decided to divide the kingdom into 120 provinces. This is the NLT, by the way, if you're confused. And he appointed a high officer to rule over each province. The king also chose Daniel and 2 others as administrators to supervise the high officers and protect the king's interest. Daniel soon proved himself more capable than all the other administrators and high officers. Because of Daniel's great ability, the king made plans to place him over the entire empire. Verse 4, then the other administrators and high officers began searching for some fault in the way that Daniel was handling government affairs, but they couldn't find anything to criticize or condemn. He was faithful. He was always responsible and completely trustworthy. So they concluded our only chance of finding grounds for accusing Daniel would be in connection with the rules of his religion. Verse 6, so the administrators and high officers went to the king and said, long live King Darius. We are all in agreement, we administrators, high officials, high officers, advisors, and governors, that the king should make a law that will be strictly enforced. Give orders that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions. And now, your majesty, issue and sign this law so that it cannot be changed, an official law of the Medes and the Persians that cannot be revoked. So King Darius signed the law. But when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home and knelt down as usual in his upstairs room with its windows open toward Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he had always done, giving thanks to God. Then the officials went together to Daniel's house and found him praying and asking God for God's help. So they went straight to the king and reminded him about his law. Did you not sign a law that for the next 30 days any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions? Yes, the king replied, that decision stands. It is an official law of the Medes and the Persians that cannot be revoked. Then they told the king that the man Daniel, one of the captives from Judah, is ignoring you and your law. He still prays to his God 3 times a day. Hearing this, the king was deeply troubled, and he tried to think of a way to save Daniel. He spent the rest of the day looking for a way to get Daniel out of this predicament. In the evening, the men went together to the king and said, your majesty, you know that according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, no law that the king signs can be changed. So at last the king gave orders for Daniel to be arrested and thrown into the den of lions. The king said to him, may your God, whom you serve so faithfully, rescue you. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. The king sealed the stone with his own royal seal and the seals of his nobles so that no one could rescue Daniel. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night fasting. He refused his usual entertainment, and he couldn't sleep at all that night. I wonder why. Very early the next morning, the king got up and hurried out to the lion's den. When he got there, he called out in anguish, Daniel, servant of the living God, was your God, whom you served so faithfully, able to rescue from the lions? Daniel answered, long live the king. My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me, for I have been found innocent in his sight, and I have not wronged you, your majesty. Verse 23, the king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be lifted from the den. Not a scratch was found on him, for he had trusted in his God. This is pretty nasty. Then the king gave his order to arrest the men who had maliciously accused Daniel. He had them thrown in the lions' den along with their wives and children. The lions leaped on them and tore them apart before they even hit the floor of the den. Then King Darius sent the message to the people of every race and nation and language throughout the world, peace and prosperity to you. I decree that everyone throughout my kingdom should tremble with fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and he will endure forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed, and his rule will never end. He rescues and saves his people. He performs miraculous signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth, and he rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. I will break down why any of that means anything in just a moment, but what I want to talk to you guys about tonight is a common thing that I have conversations with people about when I have small group times. If you're not in a small group, I'm throwing out a plug right now. If you're a dude, you need to be in a man church. That has single-handedly been the best resource for me as a guy at this church that has helped elevate my game and bring me to the place that we just talked about, full surrender. It is an ever-going process to be sanctified being made more and more like Jesus every single day, and to be a part of a group where guys hold me accountable to do the tough things, the hard things that we've been called to do. I'm telling you right now, if you want to get serious about it, you need to find a man church group. Likewise for the ladies, the same thing for the life groups. That's why they exist. You may have other options in other venues, but if you don't, those are some great things. But in the midst of these conversations that I've had with people recently, and I also teach school, I probably could have prefaced that, but I got nervous, so I forgot. I'm a school teacher down the road at Shoals Christian School. Don't let the Christian part fool you. I'm not a theologian. I teach history with a master's in PE. So there you go. I learned how to get a master's degree in kickball and how to stretch. So I'm not qualified tonight, clearly. But in these conversations I have with people, it's often, when do you feel closeness with God? When have you felt the closest to God? It's different for everybody, clearly. But there are some consistent themes in these conversations. Sometimes it's a place where you get brought to your knees because you're going through a medical diagnosis. Whatever makes you hit your knees is usually going to be the place where you find closeness with God because you're desperate for him. But another overarching theme that I would say I get more often in these conversations would be this idea of this camp experience that we go to. So if you're a Christian, you've been in church for a while, you've probably gone to a camp or retreat. Shout out to all the life retreat guys and gals that went this year. If you went in 2023, you probably went in 2024 because something awesome happened. It always does. So in the midst of all these events, we call it the camp high. It's here for a day, it's here for a week, and it's gone pretty quickly. But what we're going to do tonight, as we look into the whole camp high situation, and we kind of break it down, we see that there's a heightened joyfulness, contentment, fulfillment that occurs. We see lost souls come to be saved. We see backslidden believers rededicate. Quiet times hit different. The worship hits different. People that didn't even know how to raise their hand, they got hands and feet in the air and everything. It's crazy. I've been a part of it all, and this is a Baptist church, and I've seen it. I'm telling you, it's wild. Maybe it was me. I can't remember. But anyway, it was a great time. But what we're going to do tonight is try to break down the things that happen at these events to bring us closer to God, because we all know that God's not any different at a camp than he is here tonight. Obviously, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever, but based off of the camp high situation, like I said, we're going to look at the rhythms, but also the consistency of things that happen at camp as well, and see if we can bring that into our everyday life. So if you're a note-taking kind of person, tonight will be entitled Revival Without Retreat. Revival without retreat. So that's probably the coolest thing I got to say tonight. Revival without retreat, you could look at it like we should be in a state of revival and we shouldn't retreat from it. Or B, we should be able to have revival without having to set foot in a retreat ever. But going back to Daniel 6, so I read that entire passage just to tell you a few little short things about it. And we're going to go back to Daniel 6, specifically verse 10. If you look at that, it says, "Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows were open toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had always done before." Key word, just as he had always done before. The dude was consistent. The main thing that I want to take away from Daniel chapter 6, of all the things that could be unpacked from that I'm probably not qualified to figure out, would be consistency. Daniel's consistency. One thing that we see at the beginning is Daniel's consistency in prayer. Even when he was faced with persecution, Daniel remained steadfast in his spiritual disciplines, obviously that being prayer. He didn't wait for a crisis to seek God. He already developed a habit of prayer and devotion. And the consistency that he had gave him strength and peace even in the face of the lion's den. I don't know about you guys, but our opposition looks a lot different than that. Consistency will help us be successful. If it can help him in the lion's den, it can help us in our everyday life. As far as this being applicable to me and to you, obviously we've talked about the revival that we experience at a retreat, but we do often we struggle to maintain it on a daily basis. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Monday morning comes around, I don't feel the same way I do at 3 in the morning when I'm smashing hot Cheetos over at camp. Like, I have meaningful conversations. We're seeing lost souls come to know Jesus. We're seeing people rededicate. People are having hard conversations. Not always the case on Monday mornings. It's not about Monday mornings. It's just, that's the whole point. We're trying to cultivate that tonight to where we don't let the flame run out. So we see Daniel's example shows that spiritual consistency leads to boldness, perseverance, and for him, divine intervention. Why wouldn't it be for us as well? But to kind of put a close on this whole consistency situation, through the example of Daniel in chapter 6, revival is sustained through consistency. It is not just a momentary spiritual high. So you're probably going to want to write that down. Revival is sustained through consistency. It is not just a momentary spiritual high. Once again, keyword consistency. Now we're going to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of things. We're going to break down the rhythms that take place at camp. We got 4 different things we're going to look at. We're going to roll through it quickly, and you guys will be done with me. But first and foremost, we're going to look at expectation and anticipation. So when you go to these camps, when you go to these events, retreats, it even could be a Wednesday night for you. That's awesome. Even could be a Wednesday night for you, a Sunday morning for you. But you show up expecting God to move. Half the time we probably show up expecting God to move because he moved the year before when we went to camp in 2023. Why wouldn't he in 2024? We show up with expectation and anticipation. Revival starts with a heart that expects God to move. We should approach each and every day with a hunger for his presence, just like we do at camp. Now, in correlation to the whole spiritual high, being anticipatory toward it, having expectancy, when we're in a new place, we have new things to do. It's fun. It's awesome. We can't wait to do it. We can't wait to get up in the morning to do all of these things. But we have to remember that our God is constant and that each and every day we get to pursue these new and precious promises that he gives us. We should be excited to meet with him each day just like we are at camp. Lamentations 3:22 and 23 says his mercies are new every morning. Psalm 30 verse 5 says joy comes in the morning, and we are being renewed day by day, 2 Corinthians 4:16. If you want to talk anticipation, take a trip down memory lane to July of 2024 last year. I think some of the guys that went on this trip with me are in here, but I went on a golf trip last year, and that's just like the highlight of our lives when you get older. So we had to be up at 4 o'clock for this golf trip, and I went to bed at like midnight, and I couldn't sleep because I was so excited. It was like, 10-year-old kid, it's Christmas Eve, but I'm literally going to hit a white ball. Anyway, I wake up at like 2:30 in the morning, and I have my bags packed by 3, and I'm not leaving till 4. The guy's coming to pick me up at 4, and I'm just sitting on the couch just like, this is awesome. I can't wait to play. That's anticipation right there. How much more should I be like that when I come to God in the morning, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? It's actually ridiculous to see the correlation to the fact that that's what I would find anticipation to. It's silly and it's funny, but at the same time, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, sold out, sincerely abandoned, just like we talked just a minute ago? Are we? Are we? Wake up in the morning expecting God to move. That's where it starts. Point number 2, we got to focus. Not very hard. Not very a hard point to bring up, but it's hard in theory. You've got to do it. Everybody around me that I talk about with at school, students, whoever, we always got the phone out, glued to the phone. I read off my phone for the Bible because I could see it better. I'm getting old. But whenever we come to Jesus in the morning, Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Here's an example that you should bank your life off of. This is Jesus himself. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Ultimately, distractions pull us away from intimacy with God. When it comes to focus, it's really just getting away from the distraction. It's hard to hear the still small voice of God anyway, even when we're quote-unquote locked in, what the kids say at school. But how much harder is it when you already have other things competing for your attention? Trey mentioned a few weeks ago in his sermon, I'm plagiarizing, I really don't care, it's not a big deal. He said that, what is it? I'm not getting kicked out of college. So I already did that twice. So anyway, he brought up the stat about interacting with your phone. And I think if you interact with a notification for like 1 to 2 minutes, it takes your brain 23 minutes to reset to be able to fully engage what you're already doing. All the time when I wake up in the morning, it's a competition between this, you can't see that, that's a Bible, and my phone. I'll be locked in, got the worship music playing. Katie's still asleep. That's my wife, by the way. I was supposed to say that she's smoking hot. That's what you do when you're a preacher. There's a plug right there. She said I wouldn't do it. Anyway, I'm distracted because she's so smoking hot, literally. I mean, she is, yeah. I don't know. Oh my gosh, I'm distracted. I'm turning into Matt Beerhouse. So sorry. Drawing a blank. This is what I had a dream about last night. All right. Anyway, it's already hard enough to focus right now in this moment in front of 200 and something people in here. But how much harder is it to hear the still small voice of God, which we already find hard to do when we have distractions that come into play? But I wanted to make a point back to Mark 1:35 when Jesus rose in the morning. As the example that Jesus set, I think Trey, this is what I was going to plagiarize too. Trey mentioned earlier a few weeks ago in one of his sermons, he was talking about how we use the excuse sometimes that we don't want to get up in the morning because, well, I'll just sleep a little bit of extra time. That'll give me more energy to, do more things for the kingdom, for sure. We'll just skip out on the quiet time so I can be more of a kingdom builder, which makes no sense at all. But looking at the example of Jesus, think about what he did the day before whenever he got up early before everybody else before the sun came up. He had every reason in the world to not want to do that because, unlike us, he was casting out demons, healing the sick, performing miracles. This might be out of context. I think he did bring some dead people back to life. You'll have to fact check me on that. But one way or another, that's a pretty hard day. He had every excuse to want to sleep in the next day. He had every reason to not really want to have any kind of anticipation to go into the morning and meet with his Father. But another example that I'm going to steal from Matt Daniels that talked just about an hour and a half ago is that how much more do we need to meet with the Father if the Son of Man had to get up and meet with the Father in the morning and connect with him to experience intimacy? Point number three, we're getting there, I promise. Consistency in the Word. Consistency in the Word. Not a divine revelation. Everybody that's ever stepped foot in a church knows you need to be in the Word, and you need to be consistent with it. Joshua 1:8 says that keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Psalm 119:105, your word is a lamp unto my feet, a light unto my path. Matthew 6:11, he is our daily bread. Notice it's daily bread. It's not monthly. It's not weekly. It's bi-weekly. It is made for us to meet with him every single day. Another thing, I'm going to plug Katie again. That's the name of my wife. She sent this to me the other day. Man, I am plagiarizing like it's my day job. I'm sorry. But this was so good. I had to steal it. It says, do we feast one day and then decide we need no more nutrition for a few weeks? No, that would be absolutely stupid. It didn't say that, but it would be. Our bodies pester us with the need for daily sustenance, no matter how well we ate the day before. We respond to our soul's hunger pains with memories of past meals and expecting to be satisfied. At the end of the day, spiritual maturity is not about the peaks we have scaled, but the consistency between them. What good is it going to do if you don't put consistency to any of these principles that are being discussed tonight? Spiritual highs fade when the word is not a daily priority. God's word is the source of truth. It's also a means of renewal and guidance. We are to meditate on the scriptures daily, not just in the emotional moments. Now, we're not going to read Psalm 1, but based off of Psalm 1, it tells us to meditate on the law day and night, and then we will prosper in all we do. Obviously, I don't know anybody in here who doesn't want to prosper in all they do. But I want to bring up a stat that Pastor Rodney talked about this Sunday, but I can tell you right now when I started preparing for this, I took a screenshot to make sure I knew the date of it. I did not plagiarize what he was going to say. So I've already done that, but this time I didn't. But he talked about the stats of the power of 4. If you're on social media, you've probably seen it before. But it's basically talking about this idea of engagement with the Bible for 4 days a week or more. All these crazy things happen. 1 to 2 days, nothing really happens. 3 days, for some reason, engaging with the Word. 4 days a week or more, awesome things happen. I could go on a laundry list of what that is, but 2 I really want to harp on would be that our discipleship and sharing the gospel or sharing our faith goes up by 200% when we engage in the Word for 4 days a week or more. That sounds awesome. The first time I heard it, I thought that was super cool. But I was also extremely convicted because either A, for myself and probably for many others, I'm in the Word 4 days a week or more, and it's really shallow because I'm not seeing the fruit of the 200% that comes out of that, or B, I'm just not in the Word 4 days a week or more. Because I saw this the other day based off of Psalm 1:5. It says, and if you don't know what Psalm 1:5 is, it's the fate of the ungodly. It's lost souls. What's going to happen to somebody if they don't give their life to Christ ultimately? It says, if the fate of the ungodly is our continual meditation, then concern for their salvation will be our continual motivation. It was super convicting because I'm not continually meditating on the fate of the ungodly, because if that was the case, I would have concern for their salvation, and it would be my continual motivation. It is super convicting to see the two, but this is where we start seeing the overflow of the rhythms that we do at camp. It's not just individual spiritual growth, but out of the overflow of our closeness with God. If I had a cup here full of water, it would be tipped over and it would be poured out for the kingdom building. That's where that comes into play. Fourthly and lastly, godly fellowship and community. Godly fellowship and community. I was making sure it said godly on there. Fellowship, when we think of fellowship, it's, hey, guys, going around and playing golf. I'm a big golfer. It's meeting together, just talking about anything, shooting the bull, this or that. Notice it's godly fellowship. Our conversations need to be centered around things that actually matter, that actually have kingdom-building purposes. Revival thrives in community. It doesn't thrive in isolation. We need to surround ourselves with believers who encourage and challenge us. Like I was saying earlier, grand opportunity for this for you guys. Man church, for you girls, that would be the life groups. If you don't have other avenues outside of this church, I highly recommend it. Hebrews 10:24-25 says, let us consider how we may spur one another up toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. And Acts 2:42 says, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. So at the end of the day, once again, spiritual maturity is not about the peaks we have scaled, a.k.a. the high moments, the spiritual highs, the camp highs. It is our consistency between them. Not only are we trying to practice these rhythms while at camp, but we also want to be able to be consistent with them while we're at camp, the same way we should be when we get back home, day in and day out. But as we come into a close tonight, I know it's been rather short, but think about what your relationship status with Jesus looks like. Has it been put on the back burner? Is he an afterthought? Do you have a yearning and desire to meet with him in the Word, to study the Word, to meet with him in the morning, and just yearn to not only know him, but to make him known to others? Are you experiencing this revival consistently?